Good morning and welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11 and you can find me on X at Razzle11Grinds. We are going to take a look at some pitching for today, the 16th of August. We have a 4-game day slate and I believe an 8-game main slate this evening. We'll take a quick glance at the day slate before getting to the evening slate. Weather-wise, should be pretty good. Winds blowing out to center at Wrigley, 16 miles an hour. Out to center in Kansas City at 12 miles an hour. In from center at 16 miles an hour in Colorado, but it's 94. And the big wind out to left field in Minnesota at 22 miles an hour. It's going to be a windy day game in Minnesota, which is a little frustrating because the best two pitching options on the slate, in my opinion, are in that game. So, what are we going to do? I'm not really sure, but we have to use the pitching. Uh, it's not like we're loaded with options on this early slate. Taking a look, Kenta Maeda at the top in that game with all the wind has dominated Detroit so far this season. Has not been dominant at home. A small sample size, but his last two home starts have been really strong. 2 runs or less in 5 straight and 8 of 9. So uh, obviously the top option on the slate, the minus 190 favorite, the largest favorite on the slate as well. Next on the list, Savali has not looked great with his new team. Uh, his last start wasn't horrendous against his old squad, but just no strikeouts. Um, and just 6 fantasy points seems low to me. I have to look into scoring. I know he allowed a few more base runners, but um, he's been solid this year. At some point I would expect him to kind of bounce back out of it. Might be a little shocked yet that he was traded. Might take a little bit. Uh, San Francisco, it's a decent matchup for him. The game total is 9, which is a little shocking. Tampa Bay is a minus 120 favorite though, so uh, I think Savali is definitely third on the list on the slate as far as pitching goes. Oviedo pitching against a team that he was really strong against earlier. His K numbers are slightly better on the road, which is always nice to see. He's coming off a really rough start against Cincinnati, but prior to that, had 3 great starts in a row. So shows what he's capable of. The Mets are a minus 125 favorite, so he is a slight underdog. Uh, but this game is tied with the Minnesota game with the lowest total of the 4 games. Uh, I think Oviedo certainly an option uh, to use, but I'm not overly excited about using him. Or really, I guess it is these top 4, and then do we gamble with a guy like Stripling? I'm not sure. Reese Olson just dominated against these Twins. Has been dominant in 2 starts against them. There's no reason to not be interested. I know the wind is a big deal, but to me, he's the second best option on the slate. Another guy I am considering would be Ross Stripling, coming in as a long man. Has made some traditional starts recently, so I'm kind of shocked they're going with an opener. But uh, Tampa Bay has struck out plenty. They struck out a ton last night, and I think Stripling is worthy of using. Um, I think he's kind of forced into being the long man. With I'm not sure if Alex Wood is available. I'd have to look into it, but San Francisco has been messing with their long man roles recently, so I don't feel 100% confident it's going to be Stripling. But we can dig in a little bit this morning and kind of pinpoint who we think is for sure coming in. Um, I'm going to go with Stripling. Last night we were right with the way that they broke it down. Junis and Mania. I thought maybe they combined for 6 innings. They ended up going for 7 plus, I believe. But so there's a look at the early slate. Let's look at the main one this evening. So we got an 8 game slate. Kevin Gausman taking on the Phillies and Aaron Nola. Going to be a great pitchers matchup. Toronto is a minus 155 favorite. Gausman dominated Toronto in Philadelphia. Sorry, earlier. His numbers at home are even stronger. K numbers are way up. Home runs are down, etc. Coming off of a strong start, uh, I think he's kind of a no-brainer to use at 10.5K, considering we had to pay 11K for Jordan Montgomery last night, and Kevin Gausman certainly a stronger pitcher. Blake Snell, really strong, obviously. Walks still an issue. Uh, he did have a stretch earlier where he just wasn't walking as many, but they're back up. 4 in 3 straight starts, 4 plus in 5 straight. Strikeouts will be there, but he will allow some base runners. Uh, San Diego is a minus 165 favorite in the game. So Snell's certainly an option because of a ton of upside. Clayton Kershaw against the Brewers dominated them earlier this year, has been dominant at home. Made his return from the IL, threw just 67 pitches, but was dominant over 5 innings of work. Didn't get the W, but that's all right. Going to be 80 plus pitches in this start for sure, would be my guess. But uh, Milwaukee against left-handed pitching, something that we target with the pitchers. Milwaukee is definitely weaker against left-handed pitching, even with the trades they made at the deadline. They still are not overly strong. Luis Castillo against the Royals, a minus 205 favorite. We've seen a ton of runs in this series. Castillo, 30 fantasy point upside. Hasn't been as good on the road. Taking on a hotter Kansas City squad. I do have a few worries, but I can't pass on the upside this evening. Nola against the Blue Jays was strong against them. Hasn't been as great on the road this season, giving up a ton of home runs on the road. Bounced back after a bad stretch with a strong outing against Washington. Still not going overly deep. His last 3 haven't been very deep. I'm interested because the Blue Jays have been striking out a bit more of late. And I think pitching in that game is going to be pretty important. Charlie Morton, I don't know what to do. He's given up 11 home runs at home. His home numbers have slowly gotten better. His K rate is stronger. Uh, he hasn't really been all that great. Last start was strong, minus the 7 walks. But it's been almost 2 months. Um, oh, I must scroll down too far. It's been over a month since he's had a 20 plus or 25 fantasy point performance. So I do have some worries, but it is a nice matchup. The Yankees are not doing a ton of damage right now. I don't see a line. I think we're kind of waiting on the official announcement for the Yankees starting pitcher. Um, but I'm interested. But that's basically us using the top 6 guys right away. And generally, I like to fade somebody in that range. Um, so right now I'd be leaning that Morton might be the guy that I fade. Um, just thinking that I can match his upside elsewhere, really. James Paxton against Washington has not been as strong on the road. Coming off a pretty solid start. I know Washington doesn't strike out a ton, but Boston's a minus 155 favorite. I have no problem going with Paxton, but I also don't have any problems with fading him either, to be honest. Morton and Paxton kind of fall in the same category for me. I don't mind playing them, but I also don't think I'm going to miss out a ton by fading them this evening. Dean Kramer is the underdog. He has been decent on the road. Still allows a ton of home runs. K's haven't really been there. I don't think I'm going to go to Dean Kramer against San Diego, even though San Diego's been underwhelming and underperforming. John Gray as a minus 190 home favorite. He has struggled more at home, coming off of a very strong start against San Francisco, but again on the road. Um, there are a lot of strikeouts in this Angels lineup. I think John Gray at 6,900 is very intriguing, and I actually would be more interested in him than Morton and Paxton, which is saying a lot because I'm not a huge John Gray fan. But Wade Miley against the Dodgers. Dodgers were a minus 235 favorite when talking about Kershaw. No interest in Wade Miley. Griffin Canning, no thank you. I'm not sure that he's going to pitch. He just threw 3 2/3 and 70 pitches on the 14th. So I would assume that he's not actually making the start. Some places I see Reed Detmers. Whoever it is, I'm not going to be interested in the LA pitcher at this point. Assad has looked decent as a starting pitcher. Uh, the strikeouts just aren't there, I guess. But he has looked decent. The issue is the wind's blowing out to center in Wrigley, and I'm not going to deal with the wind. Randy Vasquez, I'm a fan of Vasquez, just not in this matchup, I guess. Just doesn't seem like the smartest decision to attack Atlanta with a rookie pitcher who hasn't really been striking anybody out. So that's allowing plenty of contact. And of all the teams in baseball, the one that I would prefer to not allow contact to the most would be the Braves for obvious reasons. Mackenzie Gore. I still believe in Mackenzie Gore's upside. He's coming off a really rough start against Philly. Wasn't overly strong against the Brewers. Definitely wasn't strong against the Mets. Did dominate against the Giants. There's just plenty of upside with him. K's haven't been there the last few starts, but he does have K upside. It'd be interesting to see what kind of a lineup Boston puts out there. If I remember correctly, Mackenzie Gore's actually been a reverse splits guy. So if Boston stays left-handed heavy, I'm a bit more worried. But at 6K, I think the upside is just too great to ignore. He's capable of going for 30 plus. He absolutely dominated Kansas City, dominated against the Mets, 30 plus. I think there's just a ton of upside, so I am going to be using Mackenzie Gore in my player pool, pitcher pool, etc. And that's it for us. Just taking a look. First look at pitching. That's kind of where I stand. Obviously, I will tweak and finalize my pool as the day goes on. If you enjoy what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on to get the alert anytime we drop videos here at DFS Army. And if you want to join us, get access to our coaches, tools, Discord, etc. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, R-A-Z, for 10% off. And as always, best of luck, everybody.